welcome to another episode here at Deep Mountain Security. Today I kind of want to go over one utility that we can use to help us scan for vulnerabilities in web hosts. So to start off with, I actually happen to have a web host up and running at dmountain.com, and you'll see this is just a test. Hello. So we're going to use this. Now the utility we're going to run is a command line based utility, and so we're going to open up our command line right here. You can also get to it by going to vulnerability analysis and Nikto. Nikto is the name of the application we're going to use here. So for starters, I'm just going to pull up the config. So if I go Nikto config, then it's going to display some of the different options here. So I'm going to kind of go over a couple of these that you're going to find more useful than the other ones. So this dash host, and you notice that the plus means that it requires a value after it. So if I have a dash host, then I have to put something after it. And this is where you specify where your host is located. What are you scanning, So in that case, I'm going to be putting deepmountain.com, and we'll be scanning that one. A couple of other really useful things. You can run a dash ID if you're passing some form of authentication through. So, if you had admin, in the form of admin, or even, no password, no username, no password, or, whatever user pass, whatever combination of that you wanted. So you could even, try default, credentials like admin if you wanted to, but you don't necessarily have to do that. But that's useful if you already have credentials that you can pass through to the site, because then you can do all kinds of stuff with that. No SSL. If you want to force HTTP and not HTTPS, then you can use this no SSL. I will note that technically the encryption that websites use when they are using SSL or HTTPS isn't technically SSL, it's technically TLS 1.2, because SSL 3.0, which is the latest version of SSL, has kind of been deprecated. But we still call it SSL, so I'll keep calling it that for now, because that's what everybody else calls it, unless you're referring specifically to the specific protocols by the version numbers, in which case you will refer to it by SSL 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, or TLS 1.0, or 1.1, or 1.2, or whatever, you might be using. Another thing is you can specify SSL. So if you want to force using HTTPS or force encryption, then we can go ahead and use that option, and that'll allow us to force that. So I'll show what a couple of these do. And so there's a couple of other options in here, some of them more useful. Okay, so it's no 404, you could disable checking for 404 pages. 404 page, for those of you that don't know what it is pretty much an page not found. So an easy way to do that is, and most websites will do this, if I go to, Taco Bell .com/gibberish, we are going to get a 404 page because this does not exist. So you'll see it instantly redirected to 404. In which case the page we are looking for does not exist. And this is probably one of my favorite 404 pages, honestly. You've got this little animated taco in the background that kind of jumps around and goes splat. But besides the point, so we could disable checking for pages like that if we really wanted to. But so, there's a couple of other things that are useful. If you want to output your stuff to a file, you could use a format. Or if you wanted to, tune your scan or set timeouts, or, get plugin and database versions, or, whatever you want to do. There's a couple of things we're going to do. But anyways, I'm going to start off with the basic one. So we're going to go Nikto host, and then deepmountain.com. And you can put an IP address right here too, and it'll work fine. So you can notice it's already getting some different information from me. It's telling us that our target IP, so I put in a host name and it automatically resolved it to an IP address. You can also put an IP address right here if you really want to. Here's my host name, so, if I put in one or the other, it would try to resolve that if possible. Looks like I'm currently running on port 80, which is right because it's just a standard web port. And now we've got some output coming out here on the command line. in the which you're going to notice we've got a couple of different things that it's checking for and a couple of different things that we might be able to do some stuff with. So you can see that it's retrieved by X powered by header of PHP 7.1.10. So I might have a PHP server running on the back end. It looks like we're running Apache version 2.4.28. We might be running on CentOS. You know, not everything on here is going to be 100% accurate, but it'll give you a decent idea of what most likely is going on in the background. And then some information about whatever kind of encryption we may or may not be using to get to the server itself. As we go down, we can get a little bit more information. So it looks like anti-click jacking X-frame options is not present in the headers. It looks like I'm not defining an cross-site scripting attack. So that could hint that the user agent. So if it was there, then it might hint that I'm doing some form of protection against cross-site scripting attacks. Of course, I don't have any way for people to upload stuff to my site. So cross-site scripting is not going to work, especially since not very many people are looking at it anyways. So you're going to see that we might be able to use a user agent that allows us to render the content in a different fashion than to the meme type. Didn't find any CGI directories. You notice that we can specify -C all onto my output here, or my host file, to try and force to check for all possible directories of CGI. It looks like I might be running an outdated version of OpenSSL. However, if you look at the site, I am not running HTTPS. It is not secure. So, anyways, we can continue down. So, if we go to web server return to valid response with junk HTTP methods. So that pretty much means that Nikto tried to send a bunch of random junk at it to see if it would return a valid response or not, and it did. So that means that we could be hitting some false positives. Wonder what those are. False positives. Paul's positives. I guess Paul might have some positives. You should go ask Paul. Anyways, so false positives, such as, some of the stuff in here might not be completely accurate, because no matter what we throw at it, it's going to return a valid response of some kind or another. If you'll notice that HTTP trace method is active, so that suggests it might be vulnerable to XST. So that pretty much means that we could probably run an XST attack on it, but that's not 100% guaranteed. And this should take another second. I'll speed it up. Or not. That's actually taking a little too long, so we're going to go ahead and continue. Anyways, so another thing I could do is I could run on my deepmountain.com host. We could run the exact same thing, only this time specify no SSL. In which case, it's not going to do the SSL checks that it did in the one before. You'll notice it's still noticing server SSL. However, it's not going to get as much. And this is going to make a larger difference on sites that might be only SSL or not supportive of SSL, or vice versa. In which case we might be able to get a little bit more information off of it. But I kind of want to show you that. So that's how you kind of work with these options, parameters. So if you just dash host your host and then dash whatever parameter you want to put on there. So if I'm going to just quit out of that again, if we go and run back up again, we can try running this just with SSL and see how that works. This is going to be interesting because I haven't defined how SSL works. So if we go over to here and type in HTTPS, actually you're going to get an insecure connection, which if we try to add a exception and go to where, we'll kind of get there, but it's kind of not working very well. So you're going to notice that it's like uses SSL and a HTTP header that isn't defined because it's not working properly. There's a couple of other different things that we could do as well. However, if I took my main website and scanned that, and so we did dmountainsecurity.com instead, to try and see what this says. We're gonna see. I'm gonna get a little bit more different information. So now I've got a root page, which the slash redirects to deepmountainsecurity.com. So you're gonna notice the main difference there is a www. And so once again, no CGI directories, and it's just going to go through and do this for whatever site you're scanning. But this is just a really easy, simple tool to kind of get a idea of what vulnerabilities a site may or may not have. Now, this isn't always going to return a ton of stuff, and you're probably going to have to do some research afterwards, as in terms of, does something pose a vulnerability? Is my Apache or Nginx version outdated? Do I need to update something? Do I need to patch something? Maybe I need to change the headers that I allow. Do I am allowing post headers and stuff like that? And this Nikto application is generally fairly verbose and does a pretty good job of telling you what you need to do to or what might be going on that might cause such vulnerabilities. Then you might be able to go ahead and patch those and fix those on your own web host. You'll notice I haven't scanned anything like Google or anything like that because I don't have permission to scan them, even though they are out there in public and anybody can access them. I haven't received express permission to scan them, so I'm not going to. However, so I only recommend really scanning your own stuff if you want to. But anyways, one last thing. So you'll see there's the particular cipher that my HTTPS is using on that site. But anyways, quickly wanted to show you guys just what a nice little tool this is. This probably isn't going to finish just because of the way I have everything set up with my connection to get out to the internet right now. I've been kind of playing around with some different things. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and have a great day.